Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. If you're new to the channel, I'm Rebecca. So today we're going to be doing a freezer meal prep day where we're making a breakfast that we can prepare and stick into the freezer and have them whenever we don't feel like making breakfast in the morning, or if we're in a hurry and on the go, we can heat it up and take it with us. We'll be making breakfast burritos with a hash brown. This is a nice complete breakfast meal that's wonderful to start the day, especially on those mornings where you just don't feel like cooking. So let's head to the kitchen and start our freezer meal prep day for breakfast burritos with hash brown. So the quantity of each ingredient that you are going to be preparing really just depends on how many freezer meals that you would like to make. I'll be making 10 freezer meals today, so that's the amount that I'm using for today's freezer meal prep day. So what I like to do is usually make my scrambled eggs first, and I prepare my breakfast sausage as well. Then I allow both of those ingredients to cool slightly before I start assembling my breakfast burritos. So for the scrambled eggs, I like to do 1.5 eggs per tortilla shell that I'm going to use for the breakfast burrito. I'll be using 15 eggs, and then I like to use about a half tablespoon of milk per egg, so that would be about a half cup of milk when I make my scrambled eggs. And then I like to season them to taste with salt and pepper. If you have a favorite seasoning that you like to use whenever you make your scrambled eggs, you can certainly use that seasoning instead. But I also find that the breakfast sausage imparts an awful lot of flavor to these breakfast burritos, so just keep that in mind. So first I'm going to crack these 15 eggs into my mixing bowl. And then, as I just mentioned, I like to do about a half tablespoon per egg, so that ends up being about a half cup of milk to my eggs. Then I whisk them up really nicely here to create our scrambled egg mixture. Now I'll just season my egg mixture with salt and pepper to taste. Mix that in. Now I'll just set this off to the side and we'll get our skillet prepared for cooking our scrambled eggs. So now let's get our eggs scrambled. So you can use a really nice size skillet, or like I have here, a nice high-sided pan. This works really well for this. And we like to make our scrambled eggs with butter, but you can use whatever oil you like to use when making your scrambled eggs. I have a couple tablespoons in here melting, just because this is such a large batch of scrambled eggs that we're going to be using for our freezer meals today. So just on a medium-high heat, we're melting our butter, or if you prefer oil, whatever oil you're using. And we'll get our pan nice and heated up and prepared for our eggs. Now at the same time, you can also be preparing your breakfast sausage. You'd use 2 pounds of a breakfast sausage, and I like to use our breakfast sausage from ground beef. You can check out my video that I have on how we prepare a breakfast sausage substitute using ground beef instead. And so I prepared this already and set this aside, so that's all ready to go for our freezer meals. Now when I prepare these freezer meals, like I said earlier, I like to allow my scrambled eggs and the breakfast sausage or breakfast sausage substitute cool slightly before assembling the burritos. So our pan is nice and heated up, so we'll add our eggs. We'll get them scrambled. So when I make my scrambled eggs, I like to let the mixture sit on the skillet or whatever pan I'm using and cook for a bit, and then I just go through and press it away from the middle and away from the sides, and then spread it to the bottom of the pan. That way you get a nice evenly cooked scrambled egg, and they're nice and fluffy. By adding milk to the egg mixture, that also helps to make a nice fluffy scrambled egg. But if you have a favorite way that you like to make your scrambled eggs, you just prepare them that way. All right, our eggs are nice and cooked through and nice and fluffy. So I'm going to remove them from the heat. Now we can go to our work surface and we can set up everything we need for making our freezer meals. That'll work out just right because that'll allow our eggs to cool slightly. So here are the glass containers that I like to use for making my freezer meals and also for meal prep. And what I really like about these is that I can fit a dozen of them with their lids in this 18-quart container, and then when I'm not using them, I can keep them stored away. They don't take up that much room. And another thing is these glass containers are freezer, oven, and microwave safe, and dishwasher safe. The company says that they recommend not dishwashing the lids. I put them on the top rack and they usually wash just fine in the dishwasher. If you wanted to, you could just hand wash those. That's not that big of a deal. And the sets come in a 2-part divided container. You can buy variety packs that also come with one solid container. And there's also a little bit larger one that comes in the variety pack. I believe it's a 3-part divided dish that comes in this variety pack set. Or you could just buy each of the different styles by themselves. So I can provide a link for these particular containers because there are so many out there, and it's good to know a certain container works well for somebody when you're going to invest in something for your freezer meals or meal prep. And this works really nice. I use this too for pre-portioning snacks and things. You can put, say, hummus and some sliced vegetables on the side. And it's just really quick and easy to make that, stick that in the refrigerator, and you have it when you're on the go. So these are the containers I'll be using today, and I'll set up our work surface so that we can start assembling our freezer meals. All right, so first we will need some soft shell tortillas. I have 10 soft shell taco flour tortillas left over from dinner the other day. You can also certainly make some homemade tortillas. I have a video on that. You can check that out and see how I prepare some homemade tortillas. And then I get the rest of my ingredients all ready to go. So for these containers, they're about 4 inches by 3 inches on the larger side, which is where I'm going to be putting the breakfast burrito. So again, I have some breakfast sausage, or this is my breakfast sausage substitute made with ground beef. And I have about 3 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And our scrambled eggs we just prepared on the stovetop and allowed them to cool slightly. And I just put a baking pan off to the side so I can place the prepared containers of the freezer meals onto there. And that'll just make it a little easier to carry our freezer meals to the freezer later when we need to put them in there for storage. So I'll just get a few of our freezer meal containers onto this tray. There we go. And we just put a tortilla down. I like to put the breakfast sausage down first. And a little bit of our egg mixture. And then I like to top with some shredded cheddar cheese. Then I fold the sides in, bring the top over, kind of tuck it back, fold the side in again a little bit, just to make it nice and small and compact, then finish rolling the rest of the way. And we have a nice small breakfast burrito that should fit nicely into our freezer meal container. So we'll keep making these breakfast burritos. Now to make this a complete breakfast, I like to add a little hash brown patty. So you can purchase hash brown patties in the freezer section of most grocery stores. If you can't find them, you can also get the little hash brown rounds, and you can put, a half dozen or so in this little side thing, or just stack them up side by side in this container. Then you can have a nice hash brown side dish with your breakfast burrito. So these are frozen. You can set them onto this side of the divided dish. If they're a little too big, you can certainly just cut them in half, and then they stack real nicely into that compartment. Now we'll just add the covers. These just simply snap on. When I reheat these later, I do not put the covers in the microwave. I have found that with my glass containers with these type of lids, they last for many years if I do it that way. I just simply place a paper towel, or I have a little microwave cover that I reuse when heating things in the microwave. I place that over the container when they're heated up. Now we'll do the next round, since we're doing 10, because that's how many tortilla shells I have left to use up from dinner the other night. Most of the store-bought tortillas come between 12 to 20 tortillas. And these divided containers, I bought a set. That's just the divided ones, and I also bought a variety pack one. The variety pack has 3 of each size I talked about earlier, and then the ones that come like this, I believe it's a 12 pack. So now let's make our next round of breakfast burritos. So I have a little bit of scrambled egg mixture and our breakfast sausage substitute mixture left over. So I can just put that into a container, and we can enjoy this for breakfast, or maybe have some breakfast for dinner. It'd be a nice quick scramble bowl breakfast. The scrambled eggs, some breakfast sausage, and maybe some cheese sprinkled on top, heat it up, and you have breakfast. Put this in the refrigerator. Now let's get the final batch of our Hashbrown Side prepared. So I'll just simply cut them in half and sit them upright in the container. This one I overfilled a little bit and the shell split, but that's okay. Again, it's in its own compartment. It'll heat up nicely in this dish. We don't have to worry about it. Now for these last few hash browns here, I'll put them into their own container and stick these in the freezer as well. Then we'll have some hash browns if we want them for breakfast. So let me get the lids on these containers. What I like about these containers is they're clear and their lids are clear as well. So that helps to know what's inside of them. I still like to label them with some Scotch tape. I just put it on the lid, and then I put what it is and the date that I prepared the freezer meal. That way it's easy to remove, it doesn't leave a sticky residue. And then I know the date that they were prepared, which ones I need to use up before others. So these will freeze nicely for up to 3 months. They really don't last that long around here, but it's good to keep in mind. So that's why it's nice to label and date whenever you're doing freezer meals. So let me set these up and we can have a closer look. All right, guys, here we have our prepared freezer meals. We have a complete breakfast with a breakfast burrito and a side of hash brown. This will be really quick and easy to make on mornings that we don't feel like making breakfast, or when we're in a hurry or we want to take a breakfast to go with us. This will save the day. So what I like to do is remove the lid, heat them in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes. If it needs a little more time, I just do an added 30 seconds at a time until it's as hot as I like it. These dishes can also go in the oven, so if you prefer to heat your breakfast burritos and hash brown in the oven, you can do so. I would suggest at about 350 until it's still as warm as you would like it. So now I will label these and get them into the freezer, and we'll use them over the next days and weeks. I'd recommend using them by 3 months, and they stack up very nicely in the freezer and don't take up a lot of room because they're nice and small. What I also like about these particular containers is they work really great for freezer meals. They clean up well. You can heat right in them, and you can use them over and over again for many years. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me in the kitchen today while we made these freezer meals and had our freezer prep day, baking this complete breakfast of a breakfast burrito with a side of hash brown. I really enjoy meal prep days and freezer meal prep days because it's relaxing. You're making a large amount of food just one time, and you'll be creating multiple meals that'll make your life easier in the future. You can just store them away in the freezer and know that you have them on hand on days you just don't feel like cooking. So I hope you give this recipe and technique a try, and I will provide the links below for you guys. So if you would like to try some of these supplies and equipment that I used today for making these freezer meals, you can do so if you'd like. Well, if you'd like more inspiration on recipes and food preservation projects, you can check out a number of videos I have on the topics. And if you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing. If you enjoy this or any other video that you watch, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Well, I hope you're having a fantastic day. See you next time. Take care.